Alright, so, right off the bat, and yeah, I put these in order as much as I could. Right off the bat, we got the Asylum Demon. Now, I watched someone else do their tier list, and they did give it a pretty good rank. I don't remember if they put it a top rank, but I do tend to agree. But I'll go into a little more detail, right? Like, they mentioned, you know, it teaches you sort of the mechanics of the game. You know, you do the thing where you go into its Lagan's room and then you like leave and then come back and fight it later when you're stronger. But there's also the atmosphere element to it, you know? Own tier for that piece of shit. Oh, Jules, you missed the part where I said, you know, C is for bosses that you're just like frustrated by, and then D is for Bed of Chaos. I think Bed of Chaos may be legitimately in its own tier there. So with the Asylum Demon, one of the things it does really well too is atmosphere, right? Because you walk into this room and the only enemies you've met so far, you literally kill in 3 hits with a broken sword, right? You know, you've only just unlocked the ability to die with full damage. You get to a bonfire and you walk in and this thing just jumps out of the fucking sky on you know? And you have just a moment to be like, oh shit, and then the boss music starts. You're like, well, yeah. It was nice of the developers to leave a note saying run or get out on the floor, whatever it says. But yeah, I think it does have, you know, the part where it has built-in challenge as well is cool. That's going to be a common theme in this tier list, where like you can just try and fight it and get the weapon, you know, on subsequent playthroughs. Like when I killed it fist only, because I was doing the Cestus run, that took me 15 minutes, but it was doable. You know? But also like you don't need to like really get good at the game to beat this boss. You know, it doesn't gatekeep you super hard like say the first boss in Neo does. You know, you can kind of walk around its attacks a little bit. You don't have to like perfect time dodge anything. It doesn't have any like crazy delay windups like the later demons do. That doesn't have a massive pool of health. It's always funny in New Game Plus when you just like 2-shot it. You know, again, like the atmosphere of, you know, you just suddenly see this thing and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, and then like you meet Oscar and realize that that was what happened to him. You know, this dude who got you out of your cell, you like avenged him almost. But yeah, so I'm going to put it in A tier, and I feel pretty comfortable in that decision. Now, Taurus Demon. This is where the hot takes begin. Taurus Demon, I think, is unironically pretty garbage boss. It does a few things right, but it does a few things very wrong. You like steak? Yeah. Yeah, now this was the first boss that I ever one-shot. And the fact that you can do that with only like an hour's setup, I think is pretty cool. But yeah, the issue I have with this boss is like the hitboxes, really. I do like the fairness that like, yes, it can knock you off the cliff, but it can fall off the cliff too. Right, which I have seen happen a lot. I've done it twice, once on purpose, or twice on purpose, and then once on accident. I've seen people just do it on accident. But yeah, the hitboxes on its like slam attacks are completely ridiculous though. Like I could understand it staggering you if it doesn't make a direct hit, right? By slamming the ground next to you, but it like staggers you and damages you. And to me, like, when it's such a high damage weapon and it's so early in the game, that shit is just not okay. It does get a little bit of redemption in terms of it teaches you a bit about the game, in that like you'll have bosses that sort of have windows. There's bosses with shit hitboxes like this. There's also extra enemies in the room that you can get rid of before you fight it, which sort of like leans into what they were going for with the Capra Demon, you know? It also recycles the plunging attack that you learned from the Asylum Demon, which is like, you know, a nice sort of through line that I don't think they really carry into any other bosses beyond that, sadly. And I do like the way it gives you sort of multiple ways to approach the fight as well. Like, you can fight him head on and just try and like kite around his attacks, or you can like try and cheese him with like getting up the ladder and plunging, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, like, I started out with a really bad opinion on this boss. It made me rage quit the game a lot of times. I've warmed up to it a little bit, but honestly I really can't give it better than a B. Like, it gets a pass, and that's barely. Like, every other thing that's passable is going to be above this. So next we have the Moonlight Butterfly, which I'm going to put down for underwhelming. Just because it's difficult to interact with it. You know, you can get a summon for it and the summon is helpful, but the summon just solos it, you know? And like, yes, you can throw bombs at it, but you lock on half the time the bombs miss. You know, it's not very likely you've gotten a bow and arrows at this point in the game. Because like, you know, you gotta buy more arrows constantly. And if you're playing Magic, you probably had a pretty bad time before this as well. Hey Fabled, welcome in. I'm just doing a tier list of the Dark Souls 1 bosses. But yeah, it's just a bit underwhelming. Because even if you sort of like fight it when you do the other stuff down in Darkroot, right? Like Sith and whatever, Sif and whatever. Like Sif and setting up the DLC, by then it's just too weak and you 3-shot it. Like, hey Hannah, welcome in. But yeah, it's just like, it looks cool, but there's nothing special about it, you know. It just flies around, which like forcing you to not interact with it, which they really take to the extreme in later games, but we'll get to that later. Alright, next up we have the Gargoyles. Now, the Gargoyles was the first fight in my first playthrough where I actually summoned another player. Because even when I was learning the game, like, just fighting one of them felt incredibly difficult. You know? And fighting two of them felt fucking borderline impossible. That being said though, they don't have crazy health pools, so if you upgrade your weapon, or if you use the lightning resin, you know, you can sort of crunch through them more comfortably. Like, doing Deathless, I only ever lost, like, I think one run to them in like 100 and something attempts, so Garg's gotta be C tier? Nah, because like, they sort of introduced the concept of phase 2 as well, which, you know, isn't super huge in this game. In fact, they might be one of the only 2 bosses with a phase 2 in this game. Yeah. But it sort of sets up that through line for the series in a way that, like, if you didn't play Demon Souls because you don't own a PlayStation, you might have missed. There's also a lot of storytelling to it as well, right? Because it's like, you see the second one's missing its tail. You know, Lortrack is locked in that dungeon below them. So, like, you could easily infer that, like, Lortrack was fighting them, right? Like you were. Imagine Demon Souls still being $125. Exactly. But yeah, so it's also the first fight where you can dismember something in the game, which I think is pretty cool. It's something they didn't really keep in later titles. I just watched a YouTube video about that recently, actually, which made me think of it. But yeah, like, and you can get different drops from them too. You can get their halberd, you can get the tail axe, you can get the shield and the helmet. And you know, it's the first sort of fight where, like, you really feel like you just did something special when you beat it as well. It also gets a nod for being one of the only fights where you can summon 2 NPCs. His PlayStation 5 Slim doesn't come with a stand, it's 30 sold separately. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'll stick to PC, thanks. The whole thing is a stand. But yeah, there's also a trick speedrunners do when they fight the gargoyles, is that they like throw a firebomb right before they spawn the first one, in a way that when it spawns in, the firebomb's on its tail and cuts its tail off. I think that's really damn funny as well. But yeah, that, and just combined with like when people watch me fight the gargoyles as a challenge runner and watch me just fucking mince them, their reactions to it, that's like a really positive experience for me. So I think overall I'm going to give the gargoyles an A. You know, a lot going on, the fight has a lot to offer. Their hitboxes are a bit silly sometimes, but they also have like this one punch move you can just walk around. They have like the punishment for being behind them as well, like when they sort of start slapping their tail around, which, you know, they establish more in future bosses too, like with Quelaag and the Iron Golem and Smo even. But yeah, all in all, I'd say one of the better bosses in that game. Alright, next up we have Capra Demon. Now Capra Demon takes everything you've learned in the other fights and throws it out the fucking window. And like, it's a 1v3 in a tiny little space, right? Now, the Taurus Demon fight is technically a 1v3, but you can just kill the other two before you fight the demon. You know? And yes, you can technically plunging attack him off the top of the stairs, right? If you know what you're doing. But it doesn't have the big stun like the normal plunging attack does. You just kind of fall through him and do damage. Now, when you get rid of the dogs, right? And it's just a 1v1 against the Capra Demon in there, it's actually a really fun fight. You know, when I was doing the shield run, that was fucking one of my favorite fights in the entire game. But when you consider that you have to get through Lower Undead Burg with all the thieves and all the dogs, and if you haven't set up the shortcut, you gotta get past all that every time. If you have set up the shortcut, you gotta run up from Firelink past all those hollows. You know? And on top of that, right, the fact that you can beat this entire fight by just throwing firebombs over the wall is fucking stupid. I kind of wish they didn't let you do that. Because, like, it just takes what feels like a completely unreasonable fight and gives you this stupid cheese that, you know, would be so easy to not make work. Which I'm sure there's no way they intended this, right? Like, surely they just forgot to put a wall up there, or forgot that that was, like, that you could arc weapons over it. Maybe they just didn't use bombs that much in testing because their damage falls off so quick, but yeah, like, the dogs don't have a lot of health, right? And if you sort of stay in the hallway, you can just fight one of them. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, it feels like they were going for a lot. It could have been a lot better than it was, right? So I think I'm gonna have to put it into underwhelming or unfun. It does have some redeeming qualities, right? Like, I think it's better than the Moonlight Butterfly. But yeah. Alright, after you kill the Gaping Dragon, you get the key to the depths, which lets you go down and fight the Gaping Dragon. Now, the Gaping Dragon I have pretty mixed feelings on, because on one hand, like, it does like reinforce a lot of those through lines that have been set up between like the Asylum Demon and the Taurus Demon, having stuff you can do before the fight to make it easier for yourself, right? It does follow the Gargoyle line of dismemberment, you know, because you can cut its tail off. It follows the Gargoyle line of punishing you for being behind it, because it'll just slap you with its tail and one-shot you from full if you don't have like a lot of health or armor. What I don't like about it is the way it fights as a boss is so radically different to every other boss, like to every other standard boss in the game, right? It's not like a pattern of like dodge, attack, right? It's sort of like just lumbers around, and it's like you just gotta wait for a safe time to like just wail on it, you know? which the first time you're doing it is kind of refreshing, right? Like my very first run after having to summon for the gargoyles and the Capra Demon, I killed this thing second try. You know? And I felt super good about myself. But at the end of the day, the boss is kind of a joke in terms of like the actual in-fight gameplay. But it does get points for like atmosphere, right? Because on the way down, you look over there and you can tell that's going to be where a boss fight is, right? You know, there's the storytelling elements of like you pick up the crossbow on the way down there. You're like, oh yeah, someone was here fighting the dragon. Because like I think it can like damage you up there if you're up there somehow. Because I think it can kill the channeler, right? Or the fact that the channeler can buff it is like, it makes it really annoying to fight it when it's buffed, but like it's also kind of funny because you go like, oh right, that guy exists, I didn't take him out. But yeah, so we got so I don't know, it feels like the fact that the channeler can buff it, right, and killing the channeler on the way down takes that away. And the channeler fires at you while you're down there as well. It feels like it really ties the area together really well. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I feel like as much as it's a fucking terrible like individual boss fight, the overall experience is pretty good because they cut a lot of the boss run out once you get the shortcut as well, right? Especially because like on the way back, the rats are really passive. And so honestly, like, I'm actually going to give it A tier. It's going to be low though. It's going to be low in the A tier. But I think it's a little better than just a pass. Just because like, you know, as much as it's a bit silly, like the key elements are all still there. You know, it does have a weak spot as well, which is something that, you know, I haven't really touched on. You're a cape. But yeah. And like, you know, it also like lets you have like a bit of confidence going into Blight Town where you immediately get smacked down, which I guess is kind of funny too. Before we do that, I'll put this over here. And speaking of Blight Town, Quelaag, total MILF. Even though she's not the mother, I guess she's the daughter, but yeah, so Quelaag's fight, the issue with it is the run to it, right? That you gotta run through that poison swamp full of guys throwing shit at you. Yeah, she got titties. It's true, but this isn't a titties tier list. Otherwise the bottom one will be double D tier and it would be up the top. Yeah, the order of the tiers would be like reversed. Except F would still be at the bottom because it would be F for flat, but so, oh god yeah, I just talked about titties, so when I put this on YouTube I have to make it 18 plus. Thanks, Fabled. Well, I guess we already talked about gaping, didn't we? Amazing chest ahead, it's true. Alright, so the run to Quelaag's fight is kind of shitty, right? When you're playing through the game initially. But when you have, like when you're doing a challenge run or a speed run, that quick path down is really good because you basically avoid everything. So I feel like overall, you know, that one comes out to about even. Because, you know, you're only going to have one first playthrough, right? But the actual fight with her, like, her attacks are generally like pretty slow and well telegraphed, so it's like easier to dodge. It's because her attacks are easy to dodge, it's easy to learn her moveset as well. There's also like the part where a lot of her attacks are pretty intuitive with what they do, right? Like, she does have that one surprise where she like lays down and goes boom, right? But other than that, like, when she like rocks back and like picks up all her legs, you know she's about to slam him down and do damage in front of her so you can get away, you know? Like when she like picks her sword up, you know she's about to swing it. You know, I guess like as a boss, she's pretty honest. You just got to keep your eye on like the human part of her body. The fact you can stun her just by hitting like the human part of her body too, that's really funny. The way she just goes like and stops for a second. One thing I don't like is her attack where she like rocks back and then jumps at you and spits fire. Because like if you're in the wrong position for that, right, like you're just dead, especially if she goes boom on you after that. And the thing is, you got to be pretty experienced to like recognize the telegraph for that, because she does it from so far away too. And then what else is there? The part where like it's a big arena, unlike a lot of the others, but she like creates spots of it you can't stand in with the lava. As scary as it is, it's pretty neat too. I've heard other people say that, and I pretty much agree with that. Particularly because like the lava only lasts a certain amount of time, and it looks like she doesn't like spew out any more of it when there's a certain amount, which sort of leads to variety in the fight as well. Like you get different bits of the arena you got to be in. The fact that you can summon Manny and Mildred for her is cool too, because like something I noticed with the summons in this game, right, is a lot of them tell a story, you know? So like Solaire is your best friend who's by you from day one, right? Lautrec is someone who's a friend who becomes a foe, right? I don't know if he was necessarily like planning on betraying you the whole time, but you end up fighting against him. Mildred goes the opposite direction where she ambushes you, right? And then after you defeat her, you get to summon her to help you out. So it's like either she came to respect you or you just completely subjugated her, right? And you're like, alright ladies, cat fight, let's see it. We will touch more on that when we get to like the specific bosses. Touching back on Gaping Dragon for a second though, that's the second one you can summon Lautrec for. And Lautrec is the only NPC who you get to invade, which teaches you about that mechanic. But I guess Lautrec's not really that relevant to the fight either. Now back to Quelaag. So I think overall, yeah, pretty fun fight. I did lose a couple deathless runs to being careless with that, but she does have like quite a bit more health than the boss I usually fight before, which would be the gargoyles. But that's kind of because I skip, you know, Moonlight Butterfly, Capra, Gaping, so I can kind of look the other way on that. I think overall, I'll give her fun or memorable. She's like better than Gaping. I think, is she better than the gargoyles? I feel like she is, just because she's a bit more fair. I think she's better than the Arse Demon too. The Arse Demon is probably worse than the gargoyles, I'd say. In fact, Gaping might even be better than the Arse Demon now I think about it. Because they're good for similar reasons, but the Gaping Dragon is just a bit more of that, you know? Featuring like actual punishment for standing behind him as well. Alright, now we have the Stray Demon. And the Stray Demon, I just realized I didn't get my phone out to get chat on it. So the Stray Demon. What is there to be said about the Stray Demon, really? It's like, this other guy whose tier list I watched, he's like, it's kind of funny because you get sucker punched into the fight. Like, you do see him when you first walk out of your cell, but you fucking forget about it. So the part where you just get dumped in there on a pile of bodies is pretty funny. It does punish you for being pretty far away from it in a way that like some of the other bosses don't really. Like gargoyles breathe fire at you, but it only has limited range. A gaping dragon can run at you, but it moves like slowly enough you can get out the way. But what else? It's like, it's fine, you know? It's like, it's better than the tourist demon. That's all there really is to say, you know? Oh, there is one more thing to say about it. I think this one probably goes for the Asylum Demon too. Wait, no it doesn't, because you can't get hollows in there, but if you're in there, right, and you see hollows fall into the pit with you, the Stray Demon will actually attack the hollows directly, not just indirectly through hitting you. And I think that's pretty awesome because like that's storytelling, you know? Like it's there to torment the undead who live there. Whether it's like directly to torture them or just to keep them in line. But anyway, that's all he's got, so we're moving on. Now the Iron Golem. So the Iron Golem has the issue where they hit the bonfire that was before him, right? So unless you find that bonfire, you have this massive, horrendous boss run. You know? It does have the upside of pre-battle prep, like we learned with the Taurus Demon and the Gaping Dragon, right? And to a lesser extent the Capra Demon. Because you can like go up to the top of the tower and kill that bomb thrower. Yeah, but it's like, if you don't like feel yourself being drawn up there to kill him, right? You're gonna walk out there, get a firebomb dropped on you and just die. Then you gotta go through Sen's Fortress all the way again, and I'll bet you didn't go across the broken bridge to get the key to set up the shortcut either. You know? So when you're doing it first, you know, you have a pretty shitty experience getting up to this boss. And then when you do fight him, he's just such an underwhelming, like, lumbering beast. Like, he can punish you for being far away or for standing behind him. But, like, his attacks are all easy to dodge. You mostly just get under him and hack at him. I think the part where you can make him fall off is kind of funny. What else? Like, there's really not that much to say about him, right? Oh, he has a grab attack. I think he's the first one. No, he's not. He's the second one to have a grab attack. Now, anyone who knows me knows how much I fucking hate grab attacks in these games. I think they're the most stupid, pointless wastes of time. And his is particularly bad because it can just accidentally throw you off a cliff. But yeah, like, Iron Golem really is the epitome of like gravity being the worst enemy in the games. And so like, as much as I like to just run up and knock him off the cliff when I'm speedrunning, he goes in the underwhelming category. He's better than Moonlight Butterfly, I think. He doesn't have quite all the issues the Moonlight Butterfly has. I think he's better than Capra too, honestly. Well, yeah, because you don't fight him in this tiny space. You know, there's stuff you can do before the battle to make it easier. There's a summon, the Iron Tarkus, who like you summon once and then you find his body. I think he's better than Capra. I certainly like him more than Capra. Like, he feels a lot fairer to fight. But yeah, I think generally speaking, he's more fun to fight than the Taurus Demon. But like, the Taurus Demon doesn't have this gigantic fucking gauntlet with a million enemies and swinging axes and shit. That I do feel like that's probably where each of them belongs. Yeah, let's see. What else? Ornstein and Smo. Alright. So, Ornstein and Smo is an excellent fight. Right? That does tell a story depending on which way you go with which one you kill first. You get to summon Solaire for it, which makes it a really epic 2v2. You know, if you have a good weapon, you can like rush through phase 1 really quickly. If you're having trouble with the fight, there's ways to cheese it as well. Ways that like are cheesy but aren't like unfair. You know what I mean? Like, to give you an example, if you are struggling with phase 2, right? Like you can kill one of them but not get the second cap. You can just use the Zweihander in stage 2 on Mega Smo, right? And just anytime he gets near you, heavy attack him. But you gotta like dodge his attacks to do it. Smowenstein. My name is Zweihander. But yeah, you gotta dodge his attacks and actually get that heavy hit off, right? But because it stuns him, you know, you have a bit of time to like get out and get back to safety. So you can just take it slow with that. Now, I don't like the inconsistency with which Smo's hammer drag attack will rubber band. Because sometimes he only runs a couple steps, even if he's far away from you, right? And sometimes he'll stand in front of you and like run over you and keep going. And sometimes it'll hit you through pillars and sometimes it won't. And there's like Ornstein's like dash attack, where like he can get stuck and then just suddenly like rubber bands snap on you and kill you. So you know, this fight has a lot of flaws. But it does feel really epic, and like the music goes so hard, and like the atmosphere of like getting in there and then finally getting past and you meet Guinevere and you unlock fast travel, like the implications of the fight are really big. I just feel like there's too much jank in the fight, especially with the lingering hitbox on Mega Smo's butt slam, that I can't give it an S, as much as I do love the fight. I think it just goes in the top of A tier. Honestly, I think, is Quelaag an S tier fight? She might be. She really might be. Because she carries that through line of like, don't stand behind me because I will kill you for standing behind me. Fuck, we're gonna put her in S tier. Do a review after, yeah. Alright, so that's like what? 8, 9, 10. Cool, we're nearly halfway, guys. Only 40 minutes in. I really didn't think I had that much to say about all of them, but here you go. So, after that we have the 4 Lord Souls, which you can do in any order. I just kind of put them in the order I do them when I'm doing Deathless. So first up we have the Doggo. Now Sif is definitely a good fight. Honestly, Sif might even be an S fight. He's definitely like high A. So for anyone who doesn't know, Yo Jimmy, thanks so much for the raid, man. How was the rest of your stream? The Jimmy. Pretty good, that's good. Just in time for me to be halfway through a Dark Souls 1 boss tier list. We're just talking about Sif. Oh shit, one thing I didn't touch on actually when I was talking about Quelaag is the story element to her as well, right? Because you walk in there and you just kind of think she's leader of a cult with the guys you see out in the front. But then after you go down below, right, and you meet her sister, you realize, oh, I did something terrible. And it gets even sadder if you go down there with the old witch's ring. You can actually understand what the fair lady is saying. And because you're carrying Quelaag's soul, right? She detects that and thinks you're Quelaag. And she talks to you and says, "It's okay, I have you, dear sister." It makes you want to cry for real, bro. Fed of Chaos D? Yeah, I said that like right at the start. But yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think Quelaag is absolutely yes. But back to Sif. So Sif is like, of all the later game fights, I'd say probably the fairest. You know? Sif's moves are mostly well telegraphed. There's big story elements to the fight as well. Like, you find Kieran's ring behind Artorias' grave. Forgive me, Sif, exactly. There's the part where when you get Sif low, like he starts limping and his attacks are slower and like less coordinated. Sometimes he even like falls over mid-attack. It's really sad. There's also an alternate cutscene when you first meet Sif. If you've done the DLC and you rescued Sif in the past, he recognizes you in the present and sniffs your hand, and when you go to pat him, he like howls and picks up the sword. Sif just doesn't want to see you go down the same path that Artorias did, which is why he refuses to give up the ring that lets you go down to the abyss. And it's really sad they make you kill Sif for it. Sif is a girl's name. It depends on the origin. Because I think in like Norse mythology, Sif is a female name, but in a different mythology, it's actually a masculine name. But yeah, I think at this point, Sif in Dark Souls doesn't have a confirmed gender. Now what else about Sif? The fact they carry the Greatsword of Artorias is pretty sick. Yeah, I think it's really cool to watch that thing be swung around. Especially because you can make it with the soul, which is like another layer of sadness. It's so it stops people doing a Rule 34 about Sif. You think that would stop people? Its gender is giant wolf. My pronouns are a woo. But yeah, Sif I think is a really good fight, especially because like the attacks are like generally slow and deliberate. There is like a cheeky like flick attack in there somewhere, but that's always followed by like Sif jumping back and retreating and getting ready for the next strike, rather than like hitting you with the surprise, right? And then my pronouns are all bite, that's great. Rather than like just hitting you with that surprise attack and then hitting you 3 more times and killing you, But yeah, Sif is an awesome fight, even if it makes me sad. I think Sif is actually S tier as well. Sif is like up there with Quelaag. I'd say they're about equal. I'll put Sif above Quelaag for now. Just because like the lore implications and like the fact you can fight Sif second, and also the fact that you can, once you've spawned him in, you can like shoot him with arrows from outside the arena is really funny. But yeah, let's see. Alright, we have the 4 Kings. Story writing is important, it's true. Now the 4 Kings, strap yourselves in, chat. The 4 Kings is hailed largely as a DPS check, right? And to an extent, that is true. You can, if you're just doing a vanilla playthrough, you can grab the biggest stick you can find, put on the heaviest armor you have, and just wail on them until they die. Maybe having to upgrade your weapon. Like, I used the Dragon Tooth for this fight, and I just stood there in Havel's armor and bonked them until they were dead. you know. And some people say, well, the fight's just a pure DPS check. You can just face tank through with strong armor. Boo, right? But the fight really has a lot more nuance than that, you know? Like, when you get to, like, new game +3, +4, you can't just face tank them anymore because they do too much damage. You know? So you need to, like, actually, like, plan the fight. You need to, like, learn their moves and how to dodge them. I've done that fight so many times that I can tell from the music when the next one is going to spawn. Like, last time I did this was when I was racing Alan the other day, and I killed one, and I was like, hang on. I hear, I'm like, yeah, the next one's about to spawn. I turn around, it spawns. And then when I killed that one, I'm like, alright, the next one will be spawning in like 10 seconds. And I wait 5 seconds, I'm like, 4, 3, 2, 1, and spawn, I'm like, there it is. Trying to find something that says Sif can be a boy, but the only thing you found is Arabic name Safe. That's for boys. Yeah. I don't remember what the source was that I saw, but yeah, so what the Four Kings teach you when you do them on like higher difficulties is that, you know, you can like walk around a good amount of their attacks, right? Like their overhead sword swing, you can walk around that. You know, when they do like their cross slash, you can like roll one and then walk around the other. When they do their side to side, unfortunately you have to dodge them both. But yeah, they also have the like, they reinforce the don't stand behind me thing because they'll just go boom on you. They have a grab attack, which I do really hate, which honestly, I think that grab attack alone combined with the giant magic blob, so not alone, like their giant like homing blob and their grab attack purely like knocks them out of S tier. But the fact that you can do enough damage to only have to kill 3 of them, the fact that like the fourth one, like the fight can be over while the fourth one still has like a bunch of health left. You know, it's kind of sad you can't get their weapon. The fact that even though the fight can just be DPS through, there's so many ways you can approach it based on different weapons. You can like wear heavy armor and try and like out DPS them. You can like experiment with buffs and shit. Like, I don't know. I think it goes in the A tier. Hey lady, welcome in. Get you that big free. Oh. Alright, where's my window? There it is. But yeah, I'm gonna put it... I don't know. The fact you can just like out DPS them in new game is like kind of saddening, but... Downward says on Reddit, Sif is a boy's name, but they said the creator of Dark Souls doesn't care about that, so in the game Sif could be a boy. Oh, it says Sif is not a boy's name, gotcha. That makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I don't think I don't think Four Kings is better than Ornstein and Smo. I think these are both fights that could be S tier if they didn't have so much jank. And by jank, I mean for the Four Kings, their fucking homing blob and their grab attack. Alright, what's next? This is Ceaseless Discharge. Ceaseless Discharge is just underwhelming. I think it's like... It's not worse than Moonlight Butterfly. It's not worse than Capra either, honestly. It's about there. The homing blob is such horseshit, yeah. What I do, Jibby, is when I fight him, I take 2 shields with me. And the second one has high magic defense. So I like swap to block with the high magic defense shield. And then I swap back to the Grass Crest shield. And yes, this does mean when I did the shield only run that I fought 7 kings with 3 shields. Oh, that run was pure stupidity. I can't believe I actually got through that. Oh, there is one more thing about the Four Kings I forgot to mention actually. The storytelling element of where if you summoned Witch Beatrice while you were in Darkroot, even if you didn't like take her into the boss fight, if you just summoned her and sent her home, you can actually summon her for the Four Kings, and she does decent damage. But whether you summon her or not, after the fight, you actually find her armor set and her staff, like out in the Valley of Drakes, implying that in her world she tried to fight them and failed. But yes, that's like another NPC summon story where, like, you know, you work together and then, you know, she met her own demise. She could help others but not herself. But yeah, Ceaseless, not much to say about it. There's a scripted cheese in it, like, and no one beats the 11 Kings. Well, you can't even spawn 11 because it's capped at 4 in the arena. And so, like, for there to be 7, you need to have killed 3 already, right? And once you kill the 4th one, it's over, regardless of how much health is left. What's funny is there's actually a character, I think they call it the 5th King, who's the one who the health bar actually belongs to. And so he takes damage based on all the other kings taking damage. No one kills the 47 kings. The 47? Where do you get 47 from? Anyway. So next we have Demon Fire Sage. Now, Demon Fire Sage I think is a little better than Stray Demon. Right? Hyperbole? Yeah, fair enough. I think he's a little better than Stray Demon, just because, like, they actually recolored it, you know? Like, and he drops, like, a catalyst as well. So, you know, like, you can assume that that's what he's using when he's fighting you. In fact, Stray Demon's the only one who doesn't drop a weapon, he just drops the slab. Which, like, what was he doing with a Titanite slab? Was it his lunch? Yeah, so Demon Fire Sage, not a terribly exciting boss, but like the arena it's in is pretty cool. It's annoying to like get stuck on the roots, right? But like they at least make it different, you know? And he can get stuck on them too, which is really fucking funny. But yeah, he's one of the few late game bosses who can actually bleed, which I really like. Because he was the first boss I killed with the spike shield when I got that. I was like, oh, this is much better. But yeah, you'll go like basically the same as Stray Demon, like a tiny bit above. So, Centipede Demon, yeah, you need to know where to stand to get it out of that like punching animation, which really sucks. Because even if you summon Solaire, he can get stuck by that too. As much as he already has the ring, he can just walk in there and beat it up. The fact this is your last hurrah with Solaire before, you know, he loses his mind, usually, is kind of a selling point. I do like that it not only brings back the dismemberment theme from the Gargoyles and Gaping Dragon, but like it takes it a step further, where like you can cut off multiple parts of its body. They don't give you multiple things, sadly, but the fact that there's different bits you can cut off that all still give you the ring is really cool. The fact that it even takes that a step further, and when you cut the parts off they become their own enemy, is really, really cool as well. So as much as there is like a bit of jank to it, I think overall it is a pretty good fight. Yeah, the jank drags it down a bit, the grab attack drags it down a bit too. Some of its hitboxes are a bit weird as well. I think it sits like just above Gaping Dragon, honestly. Yeah, alright. Bed of Chaos is D tier, and I'm not taking questions about it. All I'll say about Bed of Chaos is that as a veteran Souls player of like hundreds of hours, when I was trying to do it in Deathless, I went 3 for 12 on that boss. To the point where I had to learn its move patterns. Like, I had to learn the AI that determines what move it makes. Yeah, like losing runs to fucking up the jump on that, or to just getting like knocked into a pit, was the worst goddamn feeling. And like in any challenge run, I'm never doing it the quote unquote fair way again. That boss is like completely god awful. And the remaster would have been better if they just said, yeah, sorry, this boss didn't load, here's your soul. Alright, Seath. Seath is like passable, I think. You know, there's like the thing where you fight him once and then you get put in the cell, you gotta go find him out in the garden. What's really bad about that is like you can actually go back to the first Seath fight by complete accident. And I seen someone do this and they were like, well, how do I beat him? You know? They didn't know they actually had to go fight him outside instead, because I don't know why he was even still in there. It seemed like a massive oversight. Yeah, he's not even like a big fire breathing dragon. He like breathes into the ground and make crystals spring up from it that can curse you, and curse is really annoying, especially if he curses you in his room where you get sent to the cell. So you get half your health, no flasks, you can't kindle the bonfire for more flasks, right, because you can't kindle while you're cursed. Yeah, the actual fight, you know, you destroy the crystal, they convey that the crystal is important to you well enough, I guess, so that's kind of cool. You can cut off his tail, it's hard to do and very scary, but you can do it. I don't know, he's like the high end of possible, I think. Yeah, like you can cheese him by just like keeping on like the end of one of his legs and just hacking at it. He pretty much can't hit you, it's really weird. Alright, Pinwheel. Pinwheel, very underwhelming, just because of like, because you could fight him in the early game, right? In which case you run into the Iron Golem issue of like an underwhelming boss at the end of fucking this horrifying gauntlet, right? Or you can fight him late game where you kill him in 3 hits. So I think I'll put him like, he's better than Moonlight Butterfly because you can actually approach him, right? He's better than Capra Demon, honestly, I think, because like they actually take the multiple enemies thing and do it in an interesting way, where like he creates copies of himself that all die in 1 hit, but they copy his abilities, kind of like Zed Shadows. He might even be better than Ceaseless, honestly, because Ceaseless is just pointless and dumb. Like, Ceaseless had a cool story aspect, but it was just executed poorly. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think Ceaseless is straight up bad or a bad part of the game. I just don't like it that much. But yeah, I think he goes comfortably under Iron Golem. I think Iron Golem goes above just because like his music is a lot better. He like looks really intimidating as well. Plus he has like pre-fight stuff you can do. Yeah, honestly, like, I don't know. Iron Golem is better than Taurus Demon, IMO. His hitboxes are cleaner. He's a more interesting enemy to fight. He's not much better, but he's better. Also, wait a second. This one's not meant to be here, it's meant to be here. I put him in front of Arse Demon, not Stray Demon. Okay. Nito. So Nito is like, I don't know. He has sort of like the Four Kings issue of like you can just DPS him in heavy armor, right? Nito is Nito, yeah. Yeah, he's pretty neat. I do like how like he has his own covenant. You can get his like boss weapon without killing him. You know, the miracle it does is like hard to pull off, but looks really fucking cool. Nino Dorito, yo, what's up, Squid? Welcome in. What else is there to be said about Nito? Going down Tomb of the Giants, pretty fucking miserable, you know. It's a pretty awful, horrendous boss fight. Sorry, boss run. The fight itself, I don't know. You should have a divine weapon by that point, right? Which you can use for like the little skeletons. Then you can just kind of dance around Nito and kill him. He's like fine, I guess. He's like, I don't know. He's like better than Seath, I think. Better than Seath, but not exciting. Does it count as memorable because you have to do it 1,000 times? Nah, it's got to be memorable for a good reason. Let's see. Alright. The secret bosses. Priscilla. So Priscilla's interesting. You know, I haven't fought her that many times in the grand scheme of things. I do like that you can cut her tail off. The way you can get 2 weapons out of her is really cool. I also really like the part where you can just let her live and keep walking. That's something that I haven't seen done with any other boss. With the exception maybe of that chick in Elden Ring. But yeah, the invisibility is like... Her invisibility they do okay, right? They did it a lot better with Freed in Dark Souls 3. And that's like one of the only times you'll hear me praise Dark Souls 3. As much as I like Dark Souls 3. It's rare that I'll like directly praise it. But yeah, she's definitely memorable. You know, her music is really cool. The run up to her is miserable, like getting through the painted world. That place sucks. But you know, I'd say she's better than Centipede Demon, I think. I think Gargoyles are still better than she is. Yeah, because you gotta do so much like just to meet her as well. And like getting past all those skeleton wheels in the bottom is fucking annoying as shit. Alright, Gwendolyn. Now, fun fact everybody. I was talking to a coworker who was also a Souls player once. And they were talking about Gwendolyn. I said, oh yeah, Gwendolyn. I've actually never fought her. And they said, you mean him, Free? And I was like, say psych right now. That was a joke, of course. I knew that Gwendolyn was a boy. But yeah, Gwendolyn is an interesting character, right? Like, Gwendolyn is responsible for the Guinevere we see, which, you know, have to appreciate that, right? So I think Gwendolyn's existence makes the Ornstein and Smough fight more rewarding, I guess. But yeah, the fight itself is like not very compelling. You know, just dodge the attacks and run up. It's like they were trying something different, but like it just doesn't really work. I think it goes like it's fine. It's just not exciting. You know, I think it's like it's better than Demon Fire Sage for sure, but like, you know, there's no like stupid boss run up to it. Don't like bosses that keep disappearing down a hallway. Yeah. Alright, next we have the official final boss, who I guess is like forcibly the final boss in this game, sadly. Gwyn. So Gwyn a lot of people say Gwyn is weak, right? And the common foil to that is, well, you fight him at 1% power, you know? I've actually heard of a mod where you can parry Gwyn but can't actually riposte him, kind of like the Baronite Knights. And in that mod he still has his lightning spear as well, which I think sounds pretty cool. Maybe I'll play that one day. He only just woke up. No, he's been awake for 1,000 years, that's the issue. He hasn't had his coffee. He looks like he hasn't had his coffee. But yeah, for me, like, I say this all the time, but I'll never forget my first time walking down the stairs into the kiln of the first flame, right? And just the atmosphere down there was insane. It's like, that was a journey that for me was years in the making. You know, the culmination of having to get help along the way, getting stuck, and bashing my head into it until I finally got unstuck. This was the first time I'd played a game that was this hard, you know? And like, being able to finally parry, which was something I loved doing, you know, was really sick. Being able to get access to those sick weapons, right, that I hadn't gotten through the entire journey yet, that was good. Yeah, finally having a use for all that twinkling titanite I'd picked up. But yeah, that coupled with like the ironic fact that he's weak to fire now. You know, the fact that his boss run has tough enemies, but they're all spread apart and you can parry them all, which leads you like into parry practice, right, for him. The part where one of them's dead and you can pick its armor up, like, you know, and like the plin plin plon, you can't forget about that. And the fact that, like, you know, you succeed him and like you just witness the ending of like touching that and becoming the light yourself. It just, I don't know, it's like a level of nostalgia that I can't ever shake. So while the gameplay isn't super compelling, you know, it's so memorable, it's so like fun every time I do it. You know, I've killed him so many different ways. Gwyn the Win, yeah. You know, he's half my fucking intro, for fuck's sake. I think he gets S tier. I think maybe even above Sif, honestly. Especially because like the fight is clean, right? Like he's aggressive, but he's not super glitchy. He has like a couple of silly hitboxes on his grab, which, yes, he does have a grab attack, but, you know, it's an easily dodged one, you know? You can just roll straight past him. It has a really long wind up. It's not like, say, the Centipede Demon who just like takes a step back and grabs you. You know, Nito actually, I didn't knock down for his grab either, because it also has a very long animation. But yeah. Alright, so next up, Sanctuary Guardian. Honestly, the Sanctuary Guardian, fucking fun fight. It legitimately goes like here. You know, I think it's even more fun than the Four Kings. The way, like, it'll, like, do a combo, then hop back and just square off with you, like, while it's walking sideways, is just so cool. And, you know, it brings back dismemberment, you know. It has, like, it has really fair punish windows for its, like, bigger moves. And most of its like wind-ups are really clear too. If the wind-ups on its fucking lightning breath were more clear, I would actually give it S tier, honestly. But sometimes I can't tell which one it's gonna do, and that annoys me. What's next? Artorias. Artorias, fucking sick fight, honestly. Like, He does front flips. He has this massive jump attack. Never annoy Freemium. But yeah, like his attacks are all like big and cool to look at. Most of them have decent wind-ups. The only ones that don't sort of train you on how to fight him, like, you know, the fucking pocket sand and like his quick like spin and dash back, like they sort of teach you that you have to like hit him and get out. You can just kind of wear heavy armor and just beat him down with a big weapon, which is unfortunate, but I've never done that. I've never felt the need to do it either. Oh, except that one night playthrough I did. That was a bit different. That was a special case. There was, you know, a themed run. Yeah, Artorias, I'll actually give S tier. I think he's better than Quelaag. The part where he has the power up that you can interrupt, or you can use as a healing window, like, he might even be better than Sif, honestly. I think Sif is just a tiny bit more fair than Artorias. Sif can bleed too. And Artorias resists everything. See the paladin. But yeah, the story element to Artorias is really cool. He's left-handed, but he broke his arm so that he wouldn't be as much of a threat when he succumbed to the abyss. Yeah. What do we got left? We got Calamite. Calamite is like memorable for the wrong reasons, right? You know, there's the fucking garbage hitboxes on the bites. There's the fucking tinnitus attack. Mop. There's the fact that the tinnitus attack does huge damage and puts a debuff on you that makes you basically get one shot by everything. It does have the dismemberment, but it's so fucking hard to do. And that's amplified by all the other bullshit you have to deal with. You know, I have to give Calamite like C. Like middle of C. It's like, I think it's better than Capra Demon. That's about all I can say about it. And then what's left? Manus. Manus fight, honestly, it's grown on me a lot over time. Like, you do need to know about the pendant, which I feel knocks it down a little bit. But once you have that knowledge, like, learning his moves is really satisfying. You know, you fight him essentially in the dark. You gotta be kind of close to be able to see him. When he's doing his, like, thumping the ground combo, it staggers you, but it doesn't stun you. So just because you get hit by one doesn't mean you get hit by all four. I do hate his combo where he, like, screams and does a bunch of swipes, you know. But the counterpoint to that, right, is that even if he misses you, he's locked into the animation. That's probably, like, I think, the right way to do a grab attack, honestly, right? Where there's risk reward to it, you know? If you get hit by it, and you're not super tanky, you will die. However, if you can get out of the danger zone, you have a heal window, you have a buff window, and you can roll in past the last one and actually punish him with some hits. The more I've played that fight, the more I've grown to love it. And it might even be better than Artorias, honestly. The only thing that knocks it down a little, really, is needing the pendant. Which I think puts it... I think it's still better than Quelaag, honestly. Yeah. You know what, fuck Taurus, dude. It can go, like, down here. Alright, cool. That's our tier list.
1, 2, 3, cause I'm a freemium dude in a freemium world, and I'm kicking down your door, and I'm gonna feed your family. Yeah.